What is up, guys? Jeff Weibo here. I have not gone live with you guys in a long time. I just wanted to go live tonight to have a little chat with you guys and talk about what's going on in my corporation. One of my business partners, I'm going to be exposing him and we're going to be talking all about him. I know, so this is going to come on a bit later. So if you're watching it live, I just wanted to get it over with right now. And it's going to be fantastic. A guy who is in control. You see me on YouTube all the time, but there's also people behind the scenes that help out Jeff Weibo. And we haven't been showcasing them enough. So we need to expose them and figure out how I even do what I even do. And it's been kind of going on for the last 2 years. So without further ado, I got my business partner, Mitt Perrin, here. What is going on, Mitt?
Hey, Jeff, thanks for having me.
You're like the guy behind the guy behind the guy. Like I'm on YouTube talking all about all the properties I've closed, but in reality, you are, well, one, you're never in Canada, are you?
I think the first year, I think this past year, I've been doing a little bit of traveling, a little bit of escaping the COVID restrictions here in Canada.
Yeah, well, you took advantage of that, and I guess our whole corporation somewhat took advantage of that and used like kind of the downtime during the pandemic to buy a lot of properties. And like you legit live the laptop lifestyle because you're closing deals for us from Jamaica, from Colombia, from England. Not too many people can say they did that.
Yeah, exactly. I think in general, I guess when we started as well, our motto was to try to be able to do this relatively remotely. I mean, I don't think it was going to be feasible for us to always all go and look at the property at the same time. And, we each all have our skill set. And I think, you obviously do a fantastic job, finding some of these buildings, taking videos of these buildings, even before we're looking to buy them. And it's crazy, right? Because a lot of people pre-pandemic would be like, no way, I'm not watching a video and making a decision. Well, I think right before the pandemic, a few of our deals, that's exactly what we did. You kind of just walked through, took some videos, pictures, and we kind of had a feel for the buildings. And then from there, we were just able to say, hey, you know what? Let's look at the numbers, and this is what it is. And now, as you know, we're always just saying, you know what? Let's get whatever financials and whatever numbers that they have on this building, whatever details, if they have it, great. Otherwise, back of the envelope kind of numbers, and here, let's throw this offer and see if it sticks.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of why I wanted to have you on tonight, because right now we're rocking and rolling. And obviously it's because of like 2 years of doing this, but we're just on a high right now, and everything we're offering on pretty much everything. But yeah, it's all the moment the pandemic kind of hit, I knew to triple down on video and all that stuff to capture that, because the showings weren't going to happen as much, like the physical showings. So virtual showings were going to be what it is. And people are buying large apartment buildings now, literally virtually. So physically sight unseen sometimes. Right. And I just knew the moment that this, like, I was kind of set up for it before, but the pandemic kind of like really helped, because I knew that would help us. And then even for us, we show it to our appraisers, and they can get a quick view of what it's going to look like before they even go there and give us a ballpark. So it's easy for us to make decisions, right?
Yeah, I think from the get-go, you were already set up. You were doing your limo tours and stuff like that, and taking advantage of Instagram, your branding. So, guys, if you guys haven't, Jeff posts a lot of content on his YouTube related to real estate and things to do as an agent. So, in there, you've always outlined, you've got to be part of the brand and really communicating with the people and people who are interested. And by doing that, and be able to connect with them, well, you can only go to so many coffee meetings. And I think you realize you could really connect with a lot more of your people through Instagram, social media, and the internet. And that literally translated, I think, for your early on days, probably with like the duplexes and triplexes.
Oh, yeah.
And then you kept applying that to the buildings. Every time we did an acquisition, you were doing a walkthrough, which, to be honest, like, I'm not the greatest at that, right? Like, I'm not the guy who's going to go and be like, hey guys, look at this video of this building I just acquired, and this is what we're going to do. I'm kind of like, okay, here, Jeff, what are the buildings that we're looking at? Okay, let me run these numbers. Okay, this is what we got to do. This is what it looks like. All right, let's make the decision or not. Don't leave the marketing to me. Like, it's going to be terrible. I'm going to give you a spreadsheet, be like, look, the numbers are great. Make the decision. And people will be like, but there's no pizzazz. Whereas, you've got the video as soon as you're walking in, knowing exactly what people kind of want to see. And, as you were mentioning, a lot of times our appraisers come back and they're always watching the videos and saying like, oh man, I totally forgot to take a picture of that, or I didn't totally recall what this looks like. when they're juggling like 10 different buildings at the same time, right?
We are live.
We're really live. Hey,
We're really
Sadie.
live.
Hi.
Sadie's heard us. Daddy was too loud. All right,
Too excited.
Mitt, can you
Yeah.
talk about our King Street disposition?
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's what I've been using all my digital marketing for, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you know what?
BRB.
Typically for commercial real estate, one of the difficulties always has been that, you're on realtor.ca or there's some marketing package that's prepared by one of the bigger brokerage firms, and you just kind of take a look and you've got some pictures. For us, we will usually go on like Google Street View, kind of take a look at the building, kind of look at how the building has aged over time, etc. Look at some of the history of like what's kind of turned over there. But a lot of people would typically say, hey, we really need to walk through the building and see what's happening. King Street is a building that we currently have for sale. So it's 32 units, 31 res, 1 commercial, for $5 million in downtown London. The reason why we're selling this building is we've got some JV partners and they're looking to exit the investment. So we're going ahead and liquidating the building. One of the things is that during this time, people want to do walkthroughs, and as you know, it's kind of hard to do walkthroughs. So Jeff had a great idea of, why not just shooting a video and somehow being able to provide that to this potential buyer so that they could see this before they make an offer, because this building is not your typical building when you walk through. It is a massive building and it's somewhat of a labyrinth when you first look at it, but it becomes very easy, and it's a very spacious place that could really continue to be transformed into such an awesome place for a lot of people to live in. And the great part is, outside of just the video, we were also able to get the Matterport done. So instead of having to physically visit the site, and you got buyers who are potentially in Toronto or even further east, or even people outside of the country who are looking to make an investment, just able to easily just click through, walk through the Matterport, see exactly what the building looks like. So there's no surprises. And if you're a real estate investor who's watching this, you totally know you're not remembering exactly everything that you go through when you're walking through a building. You're remembering maybe 1 or 2 of the best points and probably like 5 of the bad points, if you can get to 5 bad points. Which really takes away from you making an assessment for the building, because you usually sometimes want to account for a lot of the capex and things like that. So we thought, Jeff thought this would be a great way to really provide this information. And I think a lot of buyers and a lot of agents really appreciated that. I know some of the older agents were having trouble clicking through the rings on Matterport, but you know what? Times are changing, but it's going to allow them to sell and move a lot more real estate, especially if you think about some of the even larger buildings that are like 200 units plus. A lot of times you'll have someone on like a VP of acquisitions or something having to go out and see that, one of the contractors having to go out and really check out the building, even when they're not necessarily acquiring it, or maybe the deal won't go through. This is really going to this is allowing us to really be able to scale our operations, where if we have a lot of acquisitions or dispositions, we can really outline and use both these Matterports and videos to our advantage. Jeff is kind of a first mover at this, usually utilizing this for the commercial side. So hopefully this now springs a whole spree of sellers just wanting to use Matterport. So you don't ever have to even go to the buildings anymore, and we can just completely do it.
Good. I have stock in Matterport, so that's good. But no, like so many times, like they should just be reading the numbers, and everybody wants a showing request. And it's like, I'm always like, then they go for the showing and they say, yeah, the numbers don't work. And I'm like,
it's tough, right? Because I think for the kind of range that we're in, typically it's outside of where larger REITs are looking at. So you're typically looking at a smaller investor who's looking to grow. So someone who's moving from sort of 4 to 6 units to, trying to jump at a bigger project, maybe with a couple of partners and trying to take it down. But one of the difficulties is they're still coming from sort of what you can call the single family home mindset, where it's really about how the building looks and how is it going to present, and what does that look like as a comparable. Well, when it comes to multifamily commercial type of properties, it all comes down to net operating income. Obviously, what the exterior and the interior looks like is going to have a factor. It's either going to have upward or downward adjustments on your appraisal. But at the end of the day, the building could look spectacular, But if you did not raise your rents at all, your appraiser is never going to give you, the forward-looking future price that you basically are buying the building at. So ultimately, it comes down to making sure that the numbers make sense, so that you can get that appraisal, and whatever you think isn't going to make sense from like a aesthetic perspective, you can always repair and fix. And I think we've been able to do that in some of our other buildings as well.
Well, and it was cool. I did a video on the channel just showing the Matterport and walking people through. So like I'm even coming up with other ideas, just showing it on this YouTube channel on how to advertise some things and just kind of show you guys, obviously linking it in my Instagram and stuff like that. So yeah, you get a virtual showing from anywhere, and hopefully you can make an offer, because we're looking to not necessarily just sell you guys on this live stream or anything like that, but just in general, we're looking for an offer on that building this Monday. So just some info for you guys there.
I think you're probably helping so many commercial agents if they actually listen.
Well, they all just take one photo of the building, and maybe you get the rent roll, but I mean, it's just the front photo from the street. Sometimes Google Street
tough,
View,
right? And it's tough because like it's sometimes showings are only on this day, or they'll only take it with an accepted offer.
Because we had COVID, so nobody wants you to go into tenants units, especially at the beginning of COVID. There was like 0 showings, and they're just like, okay, and then you can walk the halls maybe and go see the boiler room. That's about it, right? So
yeah, I think you had a couple of those, but what that does though is it takes away a lot of buyers, because again, those smaller buyers who are trying to just level up, they're not comfortable being able to just make a decision based off of that, right? So for a lot of them, they're not even offering, which now as a commercial agent, you're not necessarily maybe doing the best job for your client either. So the more they utilize this, the better for their client, the better for us as investors as well, so we can make an informed decision.
Yeah, I think, we're probably like a couple years ahead of the commercial agents doing this. Obviously, the residential agents are doing it, but yeah, they'll eventually want to hire me to be their agent, but we'll be too busy buying ourselves, so I won't even have time to sell your properties probably. But because we just acquired it was a good week for us. We just acquired a 12-plex, and at first on that one, it was conditional twice, and the second time it was conditional for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something stupid like that, like almost like the month. And I decided, I think you told me, you're like, hey, let's just put in an offer. And I'm like, yeah, let's do a backup offer. And I've done backup offers before, even in the residential world. And what it is pretty much like 2 ways you can do it. Like, well, once the person's released from this, you'll take my deal. This one, they never actually like signed as a backup offer. They had it, so they knew they had it. And I just updated the dates and stuff like that. And then the people couldn't firm up. They wanted to get cute at the end of the deal, and they took our deal, and we got it for $200K less, just because we kind of came in firm and as a backup offer. And what happened was the sellers get fatigued, and they're tired of going conditional, and people go, yeah, we can't get financing, or we don't like the brick color, or the hallway's dirty, and like
and it's tough, right? It's not like a single family home where there's so many buyers out there. Again, for buildings, there's such a lesser amount of buyers, and as a result, even the buyers who are interested, once they see it's conditional or it's been sold, then they're like, you know what, all right, forget this building, we're moving on, and they never think about following up on it. I think I kept seeing it. I was like, this should have closed already, or this should have moved, or this should have firmed up already. There's no way someone gave them.
I couldn't believe it, but so weird. Yeah. You're in town. My wife's getting the new Navigator.
Right.
So we pop into Ford, and so I got the Navigator for my wife's birthday because of real estate investing, right? Give her a nice car. And we see the agent just randomly. And we're like, yo, take our offer. And he's like, I know. Next week, I'll let you know. If they can't do it, it's yours. And I'm like, wow, what's the odds of that? And it's just like that weird small town. I don't know.
But it's not even a small town, because London has 500,000 people now.
Yeah.
And it was just, we kept running into a bunch of people. I don't know. I guess the real estate investors were just out the time that I was there, but we just kept running into people.
Well, okay. And like, think about, you're on this live with me tonight, and the people that actually like put themselves out on the internet, we're probably some of the only people in Southwestern Ontario are doing what we do who put themselves onto the internet. So it's a very small little space. Like, there's not too many more people up and down from Windsor Highway to Toronto that kind of have 235 units like we do, but like not probably at our age, kind of, right?
Yeah.
And we're looking to get more and more. It's just such an interesting space. Like, obviously in the States, you got guys like Chandler David Smith just killing it out in the West. And then like other big YouTubers that are good on with real estate, Graham and Kevin. That's cool. But yeah, there's not too much in Ontario who are at least like showcasing what we're doing, and we're showing that. Well, we just closed on this portfolio and that, and I'm jumping in the lake on my Instagram and stuff like that with champagne and like it's cool. Like we're the ones doing it, and you're the one funding it for me. I get to jump in the lake with the champagne. I get to negotiate the deal, and everybody DMs me being like, "How did you get funding?" And like usually that's you panicking right at the end. So we pick up a site on we get the deal $200K less, but how are we even funding this thing?
Yeah, so like it obviously depends, right? So like I think we've had quite a journey too in how we've been getting financing across the portfolio. I think, early on we had worked with a private and we were just trying to get like a B lender type of financing on it. And then fortunately that same building we were able to basically renovate, get the rents up, and then basically burr it and get financing from a big five bank. But then we started, encountering different lenders, different sort of issues that they would see. Certain lenders wanted to see, building condition assessment property reports, getting like phase twos, even though it was like purpose-built residential, and like there's been no issues in that area previously, but that's just their standard checklist. So, we've been able to find solutions where we've been able to get lenders who understand that these rents do not, the net operating income of this building as is that we're buying does not support what the value of the building would be once the rents are turned over. So we're able to, again, with the sellers, negotiate a decent price for us to acquire it because they're not going to go ahead and turn over the unit, renovate it, rent it for a higher price and rent it out. But we're able to then do that, and then with our lender show that, hey, look, the ARV on this is going to basically make this loan way less than 70% loan to value of the after repair value. So we're going to be able to get all our money back plus some. And that's really allowed us to really scale and grow because it's allowed us to pick up all these buildings that normally if we went to, one of the big five banks, they would only give us half the loan and we'd basically have to put half cash down. And as much as, if we had all the money in the world, that'd be great. Or if we were a large REIT that was just sitting on dead cash on our balance sheet, we could go ahead and buy buildings where, if as long as we're earning a 2 to 4% return and then levered, we make like 7, 8, we're pretty happy because our public company shareholders are okay with it. But unfortunately, that's not enough of a return for us, and we don't have enough cash to do that. Because if we did do that, we wouldn't be able to keep buying buildings at the pace that we're buying, right? So, we transitioned from, having to do those individual financing, and now we're working more on obtaining portfolio financing where across the board, as we keep turning over our portfolio or turning over units in our portfolio, we're going to be able to get additional tranches of financing, which is, again, is to just speed up our level of growth. But it's funny, right? Because we had that meeting with the broker the other week, and it's kind of like, oh, even at 235 units, you guys are kind of too small, but you're getting there. So we're gonna like try and push and find someone who understands you're looking to grow. And you're kind of like, that's crazy because the portfolio, depending on which random realtor is throwing us an arbitrary LOI or offer, is worth anywhere between 35 million to 50 million plus. So it's kind of like, all right, this is small, so at what point are we able to get even better financing? So that's just kind of been like I would say the struggle on my end. Not really struggle, it's just more of a learning adventure and journey. And you know what, it's been a great one. I think obviously as we continue to grow and look to buy more buildings, and as we look to develop more buildings, we're going to have to explore that financing side, which I'm looking forward to, as well as we get into construction and development as well.
Yes, yeah, a couple things. Like that's true because you're kind of newer at funding deals. Like let's say like 2 years or something like that, right? And you got a lot to learn, and you've picked up lots of stuff throughout the way, right? And it's just like how I've been an agent now for say 6 years or something like that. I relatively know what the other agents are going to say and what the seller could be feeling. And we're kind of talking about this offline today about like, yeah, I've been doing it for a long time, so I kind of understand a lot of the little things. You're going to start learning a lot more on the financing side, and if you say one word, you're going to know that that's not what they wanted to hear, or that's what they want to hear sometimes too, right? So
Yeah, for sure. I think from my previous roles and other things that I've done, I've been able to address a lot of that. So I think that's okay. I think now it's just really getting the leverage over capital to be able to then make it make sense for these larger institutions to just
yeah,
want to work with guys who make YouTube videos and outline that we've bought another building.
exactly. Which yeah, I just decided, okay, I'm going to put all this online, like pretty much. Like we don't talk about like everything, but we talk about as much as we can. Because I don't know, just don't want to tell everybody everything. But what's kind of really neat is, what we're doing, and you've mentioned this to me before, it's like it's not even rocket science. Like everybody wants mentoring and coaching by me right now. And I'm like, well, one, I'm the one who's still doing this. Like I don't have time to pause what I'm doing to coach other people to get to what I'm trying to do. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those teachers yet. We'll teach on YouTube, but
Well,
then
it's interesting that you say that, right? I was listening to another podcast where the individual was saying like, if you're really good, if you're really good at what you do, coaching would really be only about like 5% of your time. That's not your main source of income. That's not your main business. Your business should actually be the one that's making you so much money that you're just taking that time to then coach and provide that value. And I think that's exactly how you're kind of doing with your YouTube, where you're kind of outlining, hey, this is what we did, this is what we do. We've got that Burr
yeah, well,
multifamily
YouTube's
Facebook
easy
group
to.
as well, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. We have a Facebook group, but YouTube and Instagram, it's easy to quickly have a conversation to like this many people. Then, guys hit me up and they want me to coach them on how to buy big buildings. I'm like, but you're my competition, kind of, right?
Well,
So
even outside of competition, it takes a lot of time, right? And
yeah,
you've got two kids, and as we just saw, Sadie was up, and that's happening
yeah.
during the day most of the time. And in between there, you're writing offers, finding deals. So it's about
Managing our managers and disposition acquisition, it's just a lot, right? And then paying
yeah.
our investors and funding, getting more investors to lend. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff. So like if I have to pause, that's the thing, there's plenty of coaching programs out there. It's just I'm not one of them just yet. Maybe I'll retire and take your money later. But you're listening, what we physically do burring these buildings is no different kind of than like duplex, triplex, even single family burr. We've just done it at a higher level. And it's not even rocket science. We kind of know what the after repair values of buildings can be, and we know what it costs to renovate units, and you just kind of work backwards like that and figure out if it's a
And that's
good
exactly
buy.
what you're doing anyways on a duplex, triplex, and fourplex,
Yeah.
right? So you're just now doing it at scale. So it's definitely scary. So it's not necessarily for the faint of heart, and you're definitely going to have larger costs and larger capital requirements. But once you get past that hurdle, you realize, well, what is the difference between 7, 17, or 170 units? Nothing
Yeah.
really. It's just more managers that you got to hire and more capital that you need to do the
But
exact
at
same thing.
first, you think that 235 units would be like stress case daily. It's actually like just as stressful as a triplex sometimes, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
We'll pause 1 second. I got a good question here from Ryan about you see that, right? What percentage of our properties do we want to exit or hold long term? So for King, for the one we got on the market right now, we're only doing disposition because this one had some joint venture partners and they wanted to see if a sale would happen because they want to allocate some funds elsewhere in their personal lives. So they approached us to make the sale, and we're seeing what we can do about that. The other ones we own as Foundation Capital, our corporation. We always tell agents like, well, send me an offer. Kind of an like, hey, if I get the right offer, I'll sell. But what I find, the other buyers of this world isn't us. They
Yes.
always want way too much, and maybe we're cowboys or something, but everyone wants to overanalyze everything. And then they just day to day, they make your life miserable. You're like, here's the property, here's the rent roll. They're like, well, we need November's rent roll. I'm like, well, was October's that far off? Like, come on.
Yeah, I think it ultimately comes down to is that whenever you make any investment, you should have multiple strategies. It shouldn't just be, oh, we're just buying and we're just holding forever. Like that's obviously the strategy. We'd buy and hold forever. But if an exit opportunity, like Jeff said, if an agent throws us a really good offer and it's in comparison to where the market's at, it makes sense. we can just take that capital and then maybe go and buy other buildings instead and just take advantage
Yeah.
that they wanted it, right? So it's not that we're stuck in stone in our ways. You've got to be adaptable. You can't just say this is my
Well,
strategy and I'm just forever holding strong.
you know,
It's just constantly
totally.
reevaluating.
6 years ago, I would have just loved $400 cash flow, 1,000, 4,000 eventually, right? And then I saw flippers, people flipping homes, and I'm like,
Yeah.
man, why don't you hold these things? You could get $500 a month rent off these homes. And then they're like, no, it's velocity of my money and my time. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, bro, keep flipping. But now what we're doing is we're flipping to ourselves, burring the buildings, right? And taking that appreciation, and it'll cash flow at the end of the day too. So it's like the best of both worlds. We're not actually, we just sell, yeah, it's kind of like a flip. And yeah, I'm getting that a lot more obviously today than I did 6-7 years ago. So I just thought I wanted $4,000 cash flow.
And there's like so many things you have to consider, right? Like there's macroeconomics in our situation where they're just printing a bunch of money. So currency is becoming valued less. So people are trying to buy physical things like hard assets like gold, buildings, land, whatever, Bitcoin, crypto, NFTs to basically hold and store that value. So real estate as a whole has just, really boomed throughout COVID. And unfortunately, until we learn to be able to build in space, Earth has a finite amount of land.
The
So
metaverse, man, we're gonna buy in the metaverse.
in the metaverse too, but I think I think it's going to be cool to also own physical land, right? It's going to be like everyone all lives in the metaverse and pays rent in the metaverse, but if you want to live in the real world somewhere, you got to be ultra wealthy, I think, right? Is where my thoughts are. And so in that case, what are you going to do? There's only so many buildings, so many places. So
they're making land in Dubai, man. They make land. So don't give me that quote.
We need then there's not going to be enough water. What do we do? I don't know.
There you go.
But
yeah.
I think the answer to you, Ryan, is that the number of buildings that that we look to sell really comes down to whether we potentially look to exit a market or a city. Right now, we're still in expansion and growth mode, so we're not really looking to dispose of stuff. But if we do see something that's lucrative and we see some other opportunities on the horizon, then we will.
We're refining the portfolio, right? And eventually can pay out. Because, when I post the cheeky posts of like the rent, right, on my Instagram, and then I get amazing, motivation. Yeah, but show me your bills. And then it's like,
and
I got tons of bills, man. And,
don't worry about that. For every higher rent you see, you what you don't see is $30,000 at least in capital expenditures going out. So they're sitting there thinking, "Oh my God, $30,000? That's like 30 months of me collecting rent for that. That's before expenses. So that's like 5 years." Well, not really, because when you look at commercial building or multifamily apartment buildings, again, it's valued on net operating income. So we're able to just push that ARV up, refinance all that money. So we're able to get back all that we spent on it.
So we should be paying Jeff soon, you're saying? Because I got to do a YouTube video, right? His portfolio paid me X, when am I getting paid here?
I think you're always getting paid. So
that's true. Well, one, we have private lending, right? Getting paid on that. And I get paid on the deals sometimes too, right? So there's lots of money going.
We've got cash flow distributions coming up as
well.
That's
what I'm getting to. When's the cash flow distribution? Are we doing that in January? Oh, fantastic. All right. So how many general managers do we have contracted simultaneously? So like we have property managers in like regions, if you will, so far, because one in each region can cover the portfolio at the moment. So
so it's looking like roughly one property manager can handle effectively almost about 100 units, and then that's kind of the bandwidth that a person has. So until then you've got to look to either hire additional assistants for that manager or hire another property manager to, like, again, assist in that region. In regards to contractors who do the work, we've had it in-house. We've also outsourced. I would say at one point we had, I guess if you include the other sub trades and stuff like that, 20 people that were working for us at a time.
Well, we
Excluding
usually
the
have
property
20 renos
managers.
going on. We have 20 renos going on at all times, practically,
Yeah, yeah.
it seems.
So
So
yeah, there is. So like, there's a bunch of different type of trades,
tons
like
of subs
general
and
contractors, subs as well,
electricians.
and yeah,
But
there's a
for
lot of people
us,
who.
we're just well, I'm commanding the managers and listening to the bitches that come up from them, and then we make decisions at our level, and it goes back down. It's just the military practically. So like, I'm not talking to the electrician. I'm not talking to the painter.
Yeah,
There's like, we have a bit of systems in place, and
I think the difficulty too is like, as someone who might have started at a duplex or triplex stage, you're used to talking to every single trade, every
hell
single
yeah.
person, and
The
now you
light
might
bulb went
have,
out. I knew about it.
and you had 15 units and you know everything.
Yeah.
Like, there's times our property managers will tell us, so and so person at X building. I'm like, I have no idea who they are. And I don't need to. That's not my role. My role in this isn't to do that. My role here is to look at the portfolio, look at our financing needs, look at our overall cash flow position, look at how we're going to be able to get our money back out, keep growing it, continue to pay ourselves, our employees, our lenders, all of that, and just making sure that's happening. So if I were just focusing on, oh my God, is the electrician doing his job right? I'd never be able to do all of that because there's only
Yeah.
so much time in the day. Because again, we have our real estate business, but we have our other business as well. But even as those
Which
wind
I'm telling you to
down,
quit.
which yes, even though we have that, we also have like family commitments and needs too, right?
That's true.
That's an important thing, and I think that's what a lot of people also appreciate when they work with us as well, is that we aren't like Elon Musk, who is doing like 80-hour week. I mean, even though we might be doing 80-hour weeks, but 80-hour weeks away from the family, ignoring duties and responsibilities, right?
Like, you guys see me on Instagram with my family. Like Mitt said, if you're just joining now, even Sadie came in this live. She heard me and came into this live. So like, we're always hanging out with the family. And one, Mitt's really good. We actually do a lot of capital expenses and pay for things at properties. We don't want to be slumlords. We want the plumbing to be good. We want the water to be good for the tenants. So we're not Elon. We're not crazy corporate people there. But also, one thing Mitt said to me in the past, we do private lending to a lot of people. They lend us money and we give them the interest rate. And some of these people, like, it's putting food on their table. It's helping them with their bills. Like, maybe they can work one less shift or something and spend more time with their family because they're getting some passive income from us. And that feels pretty cool, actually, that we're able to do that.
It's actually great because a lot of people, again, know what they can do if they were to invest their time and buy real estate and get into it, but the opportunity or the time is just isn't available when raising young or middle or teen kids. And then by the time later in life, when the kids are old enough, it's like, oh, there's even other bills and they got to figure out retirement, and potentially if they're not performing at their work because they're doing this, they might get let go, and then that's going to have such a drastic impact that they just feel stuck in a, was a hard rock, I forget, like
Rock in a hard place.
rock in a hard
Between.
place, where
Yeah.
between two things where they just don't know what to do and they feel stuck. And I think for some of the people who private lend to us, sometimes as we're renovating and stuff like that, we'll get loans provided, which we repay through cash flow and refinances. People are pretty appreciative, and I think on all fronts, we've all had family and friends lend and then need the funds back, and we've been pretty good at getting the funds back to them within 30 days notice. And so a lot of them have reduced their hours of working. A lot of them have started to be able to do things that they thought they would have to be able to only do 10, 15, 20 years from now. And it's also for some people who are just trying to get by, where they're able to tap their line of credit, lend it out, and be able to see some extra cash because they might be a single parent, and now they're able to be there with their kids. And so like, that's really heartwarming for us. Like, when you look at it, we're real estate investors, and sometimes we're like, well, I'm not really creating like something maybe useful to children or to the world. I'm not solving coronavirus or whatever, but really,
Great. Now I'm demonetized, but
but what we're doing greatly is we're providing great housing to these tenants that are able to now have like great quality places where, previously they've only seen coin laundry in these buildings, and now it's, granite quartz countertop with dishwasher and in-suite laundry. So tenants are really happy. The overall community is happy because now we're improving that overall area. Um, the lenders are happy, they're making their payments from a business perspective, they're good with that, and they know that that whole area is becoming better. And then the people who invest alongside us or lend to us are also able to see improvements in their lives. So we're able to help, and then including the workers, they're able to be employed. We're helping a lot of people, and that's really rewarding, which we typically don't, I guess, think about in your day-to-day as you're going through the grind.
no. Yes, we're saving the world. No. But we do. We help out a lot of people. But
we fix plumbing issues, so we are, Matt Damon told me about it. We are reducing the water use.
Who? Matt Damon?
Matt Damon.
All right. Well, okay. So what did we get this morning though, Mitt?
We got a 10-unit building under contract in Hamilton.
Right. So I posted it on Instagram. Everybody wants the info. Hopefully we'll get the info to you tomorrow. If you do want the info, just fill out our form on my Instagram in my stories right now. And in general, if you want big buildings, fill out the form as well, because we're kind of keeping a database, because if you want X, maybe when we find a deal, it's easier to contact you right away than just blanket mailing deals out to people. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Especially because like when we look at buildings, we're looking at all across Ontario. Obviously people will ask us, why don't you do out of province? Why don't you look at other things? We definitely can. We've looked at the US previously. I think right now it still makes sense for us to continue to grow our Ontario portfolio until we look to go elsewhere. But sometimes, there's regions in Ontario that we just aren't in right now, and it doesn't make sense for us to hire a manager there. So we look to investors in our network to be able to pass along the deal.
Okay, what important advice have I given you in the last couple months and you executed on this week? I think it is.
Acquire liabilities.
You're not financial advice.
This is not
I told Mitt he needs more liabilities because he was living in Colombia on like $2,000 a month. And I'm like, man, of course you don't even have to get up in the morning if it's $2,000 a month. And this is for food and accommodations and like partying and doing whatever he wants to do. So what liability did you get? Because I want him with a liability so he focuses on having to acquire more real estate for us, because he feels that pain of the bill.
Pay the bills.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think like at the pace that we're going, it's like, what do I buy next?
Okay, so now, that's right. What billionaires' problems have,
Right. I guess
what'd you buy?
Go to space, right? So I bought a primary residence for myself in Woodbridge, Ontario.
I don't want to wake up the kids, but you're an adult. No, I'm just kidding. Definitely owning a primary residence does not equate being an adult, but
no,
you're helping your sister out. She's going to live in it too, and a lot of your investing helps out your family.
I'm house hacking. She's my tenant.
House hacking.
She's my tenant, or she's my tenant.
There you go. Still house hack. Oh, well, I think I house hacked till 31, 2, 3 or something stupid. And then I finally got this house. So
fair enough.
It
was really tough for me because obviously in the GTA prices are like really high, and I kept thinking I could just buy like a 10-unit apartment building or 11-unit apartment building, and
I kept offering one of our units for you to move into, but you didn't want to do that. I was just like, come on, I got to get him to London.
I don't think my mom would have been happy with that. I can still come to London. Maybe that's where the next secondary house acquisition can be.
All right. We need to make Mitt's mom happy. So we need to get him married. He's got the house now, and he's got the steady employment now.
I think she's going to appreciate that you took time out of your day today to outline the me getting married part in your YouTube video.
Oh, that deserves a like. If you're watching, you haven't given me the like yet, hit the like on that.
Jeff Bell, if you're out there, thank you for your support as well.
Oh yeah, our lawyer was hooking him up. But speaking about like us, and also Pure Santh is part of our corporation as well too. We recently went to London, England.
We did. That was a wicked experience and something that I think we're gonna remember for a really long time. You want? I mean, you
Well,
want to
I
tell 'em?
think most people probably know, but I went to the James Bond premiere of No Time to Die, and we walked the red carpet, and this was like, well, the first time a lot of us have done anything in the last year, especially at that glamour, obviously, and first time that the stars have done it, and the first time that the royals have done it, because like Prince Charles was there, Prince William, and their wives. So that was so cool. Then obviously like Daniel Craig and Billie Eilish and all the stars were at the royal premiere. So we walked tuxedos. You guys acquired your tuxedos in London, England, which is not, you're brave. Swiping that credit card and you got
Hey,
your
listen.
tux.
Hey, listen. I wasn't aware that that was going to happen per se because the
Well,
timing
you were
was.
already over there.
I was
Yeah.
already there visiting, looking to visit. I was just visiting family, and then you had mentioned, "Hey, did you know that this was happening?" I was like, "Yeah," but
Wait,
like I
you're
thought it
saying
was
you
gonna.
travel without your tux? What if there's a tux mission?
I know. I listened. I learned my lesson. Now I'm well prepared. Actually, I'm going back to London, England in about 10
Oh yeah.
days, and I'm going to be taking my tux with me.
Oh,
So
exactly.
prepared for my mission, Mr.
So yeah,
Bond.
we saw the Bond movie, first people in the world to see it, and
Yeah,
yeah,
it
it's
was
definitely.
it was honestly awesome because I know you've been to a number of them. This was my first
Mhm.
time, and honestly, especially with how we've been acquiring buildings and the growth of our business, it was crazy to see because yeah, we're up there in the Royal Albert Hall, but I'm thinking like, wow, the next Royal premiere, we might be able to just hang out with the Royals at this rate, like if we keep this up,
I
right? And
like your
that isn't
attitude.
surprising. So
That'd be a good
I was
video.
sitting there being like, I was so tired too. It was such a long day running around trying to get my tux and all that stuff, get my beard cut, all of that. And then we waited in line and all that. So the energy levels were dropping. And then as soon as, everybody walked in, you're like, damn, like I've got the energy again and I'm getting through this.
And like if I could convey to everybody too, so not just the premiere, which was first class, but like the whole London experience that we did, because of real estate investing, we're able to like pick up dinner checks, like these relatively become consumables, and it's pretty cool. Like I'm 37 now, and I probably couldn't have done that 10 years ago. Just pick up a lot of dinner bills as so it's nice to be at a time in my life where the company and what we're doing is actually succeeding, so that we're able to like, there was all my bond friends were there, and we're able to like buy them champagne. That felt good, right? Like why we do all this, like the one time we can actually go out to London, England, let's hook some people up, right? So that was really
And what's
fun.
cool is a lot of we were sharing a lot of that of us being there and funny enough, a lot of the private lenders and other people who kind of were following our journey were like, "This is so cool how you guys are doing this, how you're still making your payments on time, and
Oh yeah.
still doing all of this." And it's
That's
like,
cool.
yeah, this is it's kind of tiring, guys, but we're doing it.
Well, we because England had the time zone, if you got up at noon, Canada and America wasn't
it
up
gave us
till
it gave us
it
the
gave
recovery
us 5
period from the
hours.
night before.
Exactly. Um, what are you doing in crypto right now?
What am I doing in crypto?
Did you buy Bitcoin today, yesterday, the day before?
Yeah, so I didn't. I bought it actually prior to the dip. Actually, I've just been kind of like average costing in, buying some Bitcoin. I'm also in Chainlink. Um, I'm not really dabbling with NFTs just yet.
Oh, you didn't get Wonder Woman tonight?
No, no. So I'm not on. Like I have Veve downloaded.
VV? Oh,
I
I can buy you one and send you one. Do you want
it's not.
Slimer?
It's not about that. It's more or less. I'm I've previously, I'd like, I guess you know this too. We had a crypto ATM. I had
Oh yeah.
like crypto, like mining machines where I was mining
Yeah,
crypto, like
you've been doing crypto for a long time.
long time. Where I even was told to buy Bitcoin at $5 by this guy with like a PhD in robotics, and I was just like, for some other reasons, I was just like, he was saying the world was going to end, so I was just like, yeah, buddy, I don't
Sure,
really
bro.
think I'm going to do this. And then I audited a company That was the first public traded company that had Bitcoin on its balance sheet when it was $300. I'm sure I have a paper wallet somewhere with like half a Bitcoin that I just don't remember the password to. So if you haven't seen Jeff's YouTube video yet about forgetting your Bitcoin password, go ahead and watch that. But since then, I've become more responsible. So I am, I kind of stepped away from it as we were focusing on real estate investing. I kind of was doing both stock investing and cryptocurrency investing at the time. And then as we transitioned more into real estate, just doubling down on real estate and private lending. And I want to say the past year, I've just started to dive back into crypto. So, we saw heavy dips in both the financial markets for stocks and both in crypto. So these are great times if you're sitting on cash to be able to buy in. So I am going to be looking to make a move and buy some. My cousin's husband told me to buy Solano when it was like 100 something USD, and I didn't. And then it went to like 250, and I thought I had missed it. But due to the whole, because Solano allowed like NFT transactions and stuff like that to happen, etc. Then there was like this whole crash right now where it went back below 200, and it was a great buying opportunity. Let me just see what everything's at today right now.
Was it Bitcoin that dropped today, or was it yesterday? I can't remember. Yesterday.
Past 2 days, like it was heavy drops. I think it's kind of just in sync with how the rest of the market has been, but at the same time, like it's like all the coins have sort of started to not recover, but they're kind of like holding out. So a great thing to also look at, I guess, when it comes to any of your investments, is to just don't follow what the news or the things that are happening. If they're like, oh my God, interest rates are rising, and you go, oh my God, I'm not going to afford my building, and you go to look to sell it, guess what? You're not the first genius who realizes it's maybe time to sell. Everybody goes and floods the market. Inventory is high, demand is low, boom. Now everybody's cutting prices and you're liquidating for nothing. Well, when you look at the liquidity of how much cash was pulled out from crypto in the past like 48 hours or so, it was like $2.5 billion. So you're going to say like, wow, man, that's a lot of money. Like that's crazy. But when you look at the market cap of Bitcoin, which is $930 billion, like that's not even a percentage movement. That's not like if you saw the S&P 500 go down, like 0.1%, you'd be like, whatever, that doesn't matter. It's not doing any difference. So I think it's a lot of fear-based movement, which again, a lot of the bigger guys are not selling, but it's all the smaller guys who are selling, and they're selling at lower and lower prices just so they can exit out of their positions. And then that triggers people who have been leveraged, and then they're getting squeezed out of their position, causing the price to come down. But I bet you any bet over this time period, you're going to have some of the whales who've been sitting on some extra cash is starting to buy back in and buy more of these positions. So if you haven't jumped into cryptocurrencies at all, and you're looking to allocate a portion of your portfolio towards it, again, do your own research. This is not financial advice, but it's a great time for you to kind of jump in and start adding to your positions.
And that's what I like too. Like obviously I started off real estate investing, but then once some cash flows coming in, interest payments are coming in, it's okay. I like to dabble now in the stocks. It makes it easy on your phones now with the apps, right? Because before you had to do all the trading on the desktop, but with Wealth Simple, and you got the links below as well too. And with ShakePay, I wonder, what is there like a stupid strategy I should have? Like a bell goes off every month and I do $500 in Bitcoin no matter what, or do I like legit just put thousands and thousands into it or something? You know what I mean? And then I got Ethereum going on, and then I'm buying the coin OMI, OMI, that's backing veve as well, because veve is the NFT app that you guys see me buying all the superhero Marvels and James Bond stuff, because those are interesting, because those are just digital, well, non-fungible tokens, but digital real estate that goes up in value like a stock. People, you either get it or you don't at this point, because it's not real, but you own the ledger, I guess, of what it is. And since it's like the first Spider-Man, it has like that value because it's Spider-Man, so I'm just kind of like digging the app and really like looking for deals. And it's actually kind of like real estate. Like markets dip, you buy, and then like the markets go back up, you can sell, or I guess like even stocks, right?
And OMI's drop, so it's like a potential like.
So like OMI should be like, I kind of want to do. I want to buy right now. I know I got a big check I can cash on Monday, so I kind of want to like put some in. But then I know the corp needs some money too, so it's like, well, the corp needs money, but I want to invest my money. Like,
so. Yeah, I mean, you get that's the power of having some money, Jeff. You can do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. And then we got some big closings hopefully coming up as well too,
Yeah.
to profit us. So yeah, it's really, really interesting times. And Mitt and I have some crazy goals for, like, I'll probably do a video on it. So if you're still watching here tonight, you know, we're planning to do a $2 million each next year, any which way. Like that can be for me, like real estate commissions, selling a building, and that portion, selling baseball cards, standing on the road with a cup, collecting coins, garage sale, doesn't matter.
Come on, Jeff. Blowing up on YouTube and going
Blowing
viral.
up on YouTube, right? Like Colton Lukey. And any which way, I just got to do more Shiba Inu videos.
You got to just buy a Shiba Inu.
Oh, I have some coin.
No. You should buy a Shiba Inu dog, right?
Oh, the dog. Yeah, put it
and
back.
then
Put it
literally
back here.
create a map with like different prices, and then let the Shiba, and then have Max throw a treat somewhere where he doesn't know what the price is, and the Shiba Inu will go and sit on that price, and then you say, "This is my prediction for the week."
Oh my god, it's like one of those monkeys picking stocks.
Yes, but with the Shiba Inu telling you.
Oh yeah, that'll go viral for sure.
Yeah. So if anyone hasn't done it already, I just made a really great content idea. Go ahead and deploy that.
There you go. Oh yeah. So a couple people are still joining here, but we're kind of covered most of the portfolio, what we're dispositioning, what we're acquiring. So this is a big week for us. 22 units we've acquired, and possibly we'll be offering on more tomorrow. So we should have more properties. So yeah, we're kind of on fire with that. Buying crypto, treating our families well. You got a vehicle this week. My wife got a vehicle for her birthday.
Well, Service Ontario, if you're watching, you've held up my vehicle purchase.
Oh.
So Monday I should have it. So
can you close, Mitt?
Apparently, I've always got to delay the closing. Apparently, I've always got to delay it like 2 days.
There you go. So
it happens.
We're refining the portfolio. Most of our portfolio is in like the London area and then also the Chatham area. Refine the whole portfolio, do some dispositions to us so we can produce more content, more lending. Private lending is crazy, $11,000 a month right now. Hopefully we can get that $20,000 a month would be pretty cool in 2022. And we'll see what happens next year. It's pretty cool when I did that video, what I actually did and what I didn't.
So
from like the 1 year.
So I'm gonna say you're gonna hit 20,000 in private lending next year.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's possible.
No. So guys, if Jeff hits 15, like I don't owe him anything, but if Jeff hits 20, he owes me a vacation.
Well, I think
you got $5,000 extra per month to do so.
But I'll send you to Colombia for $2,000 a month. What are you talking about?
Damn it, Sean! I was trying to get him to let me use the private jet. I guess
no, Sean's sleeping. But yeah, it is a late night live for us right here. So what vehicle? My wife got a Lincoln Navigator for her birthday before I bought my Aston Martin. So I got to do a video on that probably on the channel about it. But maybe it should be on Accelerate. Maybe
Accelerate.
Did he hit 100,000 subs?
I don't know, Mike.
He was like right there.
Actually, I talked to Mike when I purchased my vehicle, so
everybody does.
Genesis 2022 Genesis GV80.
Mm-hmm.
Those of you who don't know, I'm 6'4", and cars really cramp and hurt me. So,
you guys got any generic questions? Go ahead and fire them off while we're kind of.
He's at 99.300.
Oh my god, you got to get over and
follow Accelerate, guys.
I'll type it in here. Accelerate. Go find that YouTube channel.
And Mike Van Hout does all our roofs too. So hit him. Don't hit him up for your roof needs because we need him.
We need him. Yeah. Oh yeah. Because everything we buy, he gets mad at me because he's like, next time you buy a building, send me first to check at the roof. And I'm like, man,
that's the whole reason why we're buying it.
Yeah, we're buying it because it's a shitty roof. He's like, oh, I'm taking your money because those flat roofs, we get $60,000 bills, $70,000 bills,
$88,000 bills.
Ooh, that one hurts. So, but if you divide 88,000 by
23 units, it's not bad.
Yeah, you're like, okay, well, it's a portion allocated to each unit.
Yeah, and I think what people forget is like a lot of times you're accounting for like regular maintenance and expense, but since we like renovate everything in the building, there's like very nominal repairs for us on an annual basis.
Mm-hmm. No, that's because like one of our buildings, Victoria, nothing to do there anymore. Just collect money.
Yeah, I mean, if those 4 other tenants leave, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But until then, just
If
sit.
you're watching, just leave. Oh God.
Thank you for paying your rent.
They're gonna yes. Thank you for paying your rent. So, that's the thing. We love our tenants, so we don't know them, but we love the ones. Like in the whole pandemic, we had like 99% rent collection.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
I think ultimately it comes down to communication, right? And like if you
Easily.
don't communicate ahead of time and during, like we were providing them information of how to apply for like the CERB, how to get other government benefits, so they'd be able to pay rent, but also just be able to like feed themselves. I think for the most part, even through our property managers, like we were pretty reasonable. Like if it like families who had like put food first before they got their CERB check, were like, yeah, that obviously makes sense. Go ahead and feed yourself, but also you have an obligation to just figure out a way to make sure you can catch up on the rent.
Perfect.
Awesome.
So tomorrow we're gonna offer on another building, and we'll come back. Maybe we'll do a live next week or later, or maybe we'll do a live when you're
in London.
Where are you going? England, yeah.
No, but I'm also going to be in London, Ontario next week.
Oh yeah. Well, next week we got our
Christmas
party.
Yeah.
You're doing black tie?
And if any of you guys are here who have potential opportunities for buildings, please hit us up and let us know. We will,
because we obviously buy them.
Trophy. Yeah.
I tell all the wholesalers, I'm like, send me a building, and they're like, okay, I'll get back to you, and nobody gets back to me.
Varun, we did such a great jump. We went from duplex, triplex, and fourplexes to a sixplex. and then we basically bought 17 units, which is comprised of a sixplex and an 11 unit. And then we did a 14 unit, then a 32 unit.
Which were mixed use and bachelors.
Yes. And then we acquired like 21 units and then more 21 units.
Which was mixed use. And then we got a portfolio.
Yeah, which is again like 23 unit building, 23 unit, and 13. So like,
yeah. And then we have other buildings that we pieced together there too.
For sure,
12s and a 22.
For sure. And like, if we could, we would love to just buy like 10 40-unit buildings in one go.
The best was Chatham with Amber. And she's like, well, my dad owns a portfolio. Do you want to buy it? And I'm like, yes. Yeah. I contacted her for 21 units and walked out with 79.
Boom. That's the way to do it. Again, guys, if you give us a lead to us acquiring more units, you will get paid on this. So hit us up. But your lead's got to be useful. It's not like, oh, I saw this building on this street. Like we do that too. We literally Google Street View walk through the whole all
at
your
nauseum. Like my assistant Mitt and I are daily in 3 people in instructions.
Technically, we were the first ones in the metaverse, because in the metaverse of the real world, because we literally Google Street View walk through neighborhoods.
There you go, yeah.
And we're like, there's a building.
There's a building. And then we like try to research it. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Not all the times the real estate data has the building. Maybe it's never been sold.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, there's a building. Like, who owns it? Oh yeah, you've owned it since the 70s. Oh, cool. So,
and if you're someone who is in the apartment building construction space and are interested in potentially doing some larger developments or looking to potentially do something with us, hit us up as well, or hit Jeff up. Let us know. Would love to learn a little bit more to see how we can make the economics work. I think from a condo building perspective, a lot of that makes sense because it's a much longer process to go through development. We're happy to do so, but
do we have any east of Ontario?
Belleville man, we look everywhere. So we've looked. We look in Kingston. We look in Cornwall. Yep. We look in Ottawa. I think the difficulty is anything you see on the MLS within the Ottawa region area. Ottawa, I could say, is potentially comparable to Toronto, with a little hint of like Kitchener-Waterloo. So literally anything that's on the market is kind of at peak pricing. And otherwise, we're not necessarily researching those areas at the moment because a lot of investors in our network or ourselves really aren't focused there at this time.
We're kind of looking Belleville a bit, but yeah, it's mostly west of Toronto, the Golden Horseshoe, and then all
Yeah,
the way
me and
down.
Piers and I've looked Belleville and Kingston, so
Yeah. Oh.
you go on Google Maps, you try to see something that looks like a building from the picture of
Oh, well,
from the 2D view.
I can say I go on the 3D view. Okay. Go, so it's a bit of an angle. Buildings are flat roofs. Fly around like Superman and go, there's a flat roof. Now for me, I can cross-reference that on Geo Warehouse and I can see if what it was, or maybe even research if it ever's been sold before. For you guys, it's a bit tougher if you don't have access to that stuff. But you can at least see it's a building. Maybe you write it down and then maybe you then go Street View, or maybe see the address or whatever, and Google the address, and then you're going to find rental ads, and then the rental ads going to lead to the property manager or Bob, the freaking seller. Call Bob and say, Bob, do you have an email address? I'd love to send you an offer on your building. He's going to go, I'm not for sale. He'd be like, can I still send it to you, Bob? Just humor me, shred it, buddy. And there you go. And that's pretty much all I do. It's literally
and you're thinking that's crazy. Is that's all you guys do to get the buildings? Well, it isn't. It is easy, like we said. It's just consistency is the most important thing, right? Like, so if you're consistent enough, you can match what we've done, but it really does require you to do it day in and day out. Otherwise,
but like, I'm relentless in here.
He is.
And like,
when he keeps
what's my favorite emojicon?
When he keeps referencing the military, it's because he is very whipping you like the military. Yeah. His favorite emoji is the hand wave sign, which is just, and you're thinking like, oh, it's like, hey, but then you get like multiple of those. So it's like, hey, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm getting, okay, I'm on it. I'm on it.
Mitt, have you researched this? What do we want to offer? Have you talked to the appraiser? And Mitt's like, okay, Jesus, Jeff. Okay, we'll do this right now. And I'm like, I got 2 kids running around. Let's go. Creating content, so. But like, that's legit how we've gotten to where we are. Like, crazy military guy pounding the pavement virtually.
That's it. With me in your ear late at night doing the same thing.
Shit, lots of late nights we've been on the phone. So it's all kind
of. Hey, Shannon calls me her sister wife.
Yeah, and my kids are like, "Are you talking to Mitt?" Because like daily, we're probably like have a quick call about stuff. So, but it leads to the buildings. It leads to the bigger refis, and so
awesome.
Oh, 1Password. What's the average?
Hey Jeff, we haven't forgotten you. We always think of
you.
The average expected duration, what we've typically have done in the past, I guess 2.5 years, is about 1.5 to 2 year mark. But what we typically like to say is that, let's say at least 2 years for like burr the building, if it's a burr strategy. If it's one where we're looking to sort of like flip it, or just hold longer term, then we say let's look towards at least a 5-year period. I think we're trending more towards a 5-year period, but for a lot of people, we are doing a lot more due diligence, because what we've noticed is a lot of people who early on told us that they were willing to do a 5-year hold and that they weren't looking to sell have come back to us and said, oh, like I kind of need the money now, or I want to exit, and so we said, you know what, until then, maybe we don't take on a joint venture partner on a deal unless it's a deal that we know we can quickly turn around, because there's already existing vacancies and stuff like that.
It is tough. There's a lot of people always asking us to, partner on the deals, and it just kind of first it depends on the deals and if we need to, and then we kind of go from there a bit.
Right? Yeah, actually, like it's crazy, because there's been times where I've actually showed Chatham and people are like, "No, I don't think it's going to make sense for us," and then like literally we're
1750 rents, man,
in Chatham, Ontario, and so then we do it, and then people are like, "Oh man, that's crazy," and it's like, yeah, well, what it is. We weren't even running numbers based on what we're getting. We actually went conservative. So
and different people think they might listen to Americans And no offense, because a lot of Americans follow my channel, but I mean, we just don't have the physical products in Southwestern Ontario that the mid-country America has, or Florida. So like, well, I'd rather just buy 300 apartments. And it's like, okay,
Yeah,
good luck doing that in
they've got a
Ontario.
lot of, they've got literally 10 times the population, so they should have 10 times the apartment buildings.
Yeah, and they probably have like grave site apartment buildings where like they're just vacant, you know, like that
Yeah,
never
and like
happens here.
but the
Like,
States is crazy because it's like it's so like state and city dependent based on like the rules that are in place. Where like, we've looked at cities before where like the city can ask you as a multifamily building owner to fix their infrastructure. Like that's insane. And it's not just the infrastructure for your building, but it's like you've got to fix the city's pipes like all around that surrounding area. And you're like, that's insane. Like I thought I was getting like 30% cash flow. It's like, yeah, you thought so, but what really happens is you got to spend so much on capex that you don't see that cash flow. So when you're trying to compare some of your American investments to Canadian investments, just take that into consideration.
so I'll be going throughout my day and somebody will just DM me on Instagram and be like, how come you don't invest in the States or whatever, right? And I'm like, oh, here we go, you know? And yeah, it's like I would love to, but it's like I got to do everything almost, or somebody wants you to do everything. Like, why don't you do a flip? And why don't you do this? And it's like, yeah, I would love to. Like, now I got to learn Ohio's laws all of a sudden, and I got to learn Florida's laws. Like, it's possible. I don't know. Just right now, I seem to be playing in my boundary, I guess.
I
You've had
think
some
for
experience
now,
in the States, right? So.
yeah, I think for now, I think it's just managing the scale and growth, right? So I think we're getting to a point in time now where we're really hitting the acceleration pace of us to be able to easily scale our Ontario growth. If we start opening up other markets, then we have to reallocate our attention there, and we're not going to be able to continue grow at the rate that we could be in Ontario if we reallocate our focus.
Well, like these guys are buying somewhere in the States 30,000 a unit, and then the rent's relatively the same, right? $1,000 or something. So they're cash flowing like crazy, but they probably don't have the appreciation. I would assume.
Yeah, that's pretty much what you trade off with, right? So it's like,
yeah,
I think there's a number of Canadian investors. I think Glenn Sutherland, he invests like a lot in like duplexes and stuff like in the U.S. and he invests out of state. So go ahead and check out. I think he has a podcast and he talks on other podcasts if you're looking to do that kind of stuff. But I know with the buildings, there's definitely a lot of differences. It becomes very, it's not even regional focus. It becomes very like this area in town is bad. So the cap rate in this area of town is a lot different than the cap rate like 3 blocks over. And you're like, that is insane. Like in London, when the appraiser is doing London appraisal, they're not like, okay, it's in South London versus North London, so I'm going to use,
hell, in Chatham they use Leamington and
yeah.
Windsor.
So it's whatever comps that they can find that are reasonable and
Mm-hmm.
comparable to your building. Whereas in the States, I think you've got like a really wide range, which means you can have a wide swing in what your ARV is, which means you can't really guarantee, or not, you can't really guarantee anything, but you can't safely assume what your exit value would be on a refi of a property.
All right, cool. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Yeah,
Really
thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me. This has been great.
Yeah, like haven't done a live in a while, so hopefully you guys got a lot of info. We hit you up with everything we got going on and how we do some of our stuff. You can find you on Instagram.
Yeah,
right?
you can find me on Instagram, Mitt Perrin. You can find me on YouTube, Mitt
Yeah, go
Perrin.
sub his channel.
I've been inactive for the past year because I was traveling and it just became unsustainable. But I will be returning to the YouTube channel in the next week or so. So looking forward to seeing you guys there. And otherwise, look forward to your continued support of watching us, and we'll continue to hopefully do more of these to keep you up to date. If you guys have any other questions, any other thoughts, we'll look to maybe cover them on the next live. So comment below and just make sure to give Jeff a like and a sub if you haven't, because
Look at you.
without
You're just
that,
wrapping this up perfectly. All right. Thank you guys. We'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.
See you guys. Bye.